it picks up your voice from wherever you are, so you don't have to like lean into it or anything. It'll pick you up from however far. What? Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call our meeting to order of the Sunrise School Board Board of Trustees for March the 5th. Welcome everyone. We're going to have O Canada, so please stand if you can do so. Thank you to the students from Dugald for the O Canada. We appreciate it. We now have our treaty acknowledgement. I'm going to ask Trustee Dent to read out our treaty acknowledgement, please.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thanks, Dustin. It's a pretty important meeting for us today, as it's our budget meeting. So I've introduced everyone in the past, and I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves around the room, so that the people that will be watching online will be able to get to see names and faces, or backs of heads anyway. So I'm the board chair, Paul Magna, and I represent the Powerview Pine Falls area. Robin?
I'm Robin Harris. I'm the trustee representing the Broken Head area.
Sarah Scott, executive assistant.
I'm Dustin Dent. I represent the Oakbank area, also known as Ward 4.
Lorraine Boydson, covering Enola and Hazelridge area.
I'm Melissa Rowan from the Ward 4 area, Oakbank.
I'm Don Echo from Whitemouth Reynolds area.
I'm Angela Ward, the assistant principal at École Dugald.
And I'm Chris Gasperti, the principal at Dugald.
Alicia Smith, trustee for Beaujeu area, Ward 5.
Diane Rowland, trustee for Dugald, Ward 3, and happy to have special guests from Dugald here tonight with us.
Lars Spielberg, assistant superintendent.
Jody Thiessen, secretary treasurer.
Trevor Reed, currently division principal and incoming superintendent on April 1st.
Kathy Timko, current superintendent and outgoing superintendent.
Thanks everybody for doing that. I appreciate it. We have the adoption of our agenda, so be it resolved, the board approve our agenda. Moved by trustee Nichols, seconded by trustee Rowan. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. So it passed 8-0. Thank you for that. Chair's comments. If you have any questions, please send your questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Name and address and the sender to be included. And at the end of our meeting, we'll try to get to your questions and try to answer them the best that we can. Thank you for doing that. We also have Share a Story, but before Share a Story goes, just a reminder to anybody that's listening online is that there is a service for a former trustee, Trustee Reed. It's on Friday. It's at the Lactabonny Community Center, and it's at 11 o'clock in the morning. And we invite people that would like to come on out, certainly, to join us there. Many of us will be there. Share a story. I'm going to open up to the floor for people to share a story. Trustee Nichol.
Okay, Whitemouth School had artists in the school this month, and they were able to get a local artist to teach drumming. Of course, we all know that February was that sweet month, and we again had a former Whitemouth graduate and he's a singer and songwriter from River Hills. His name is Cohen Zeke, and if you want to listen to him anytime, just go on YouTube, and he's got a number of YouTube songs out there. And of course, it wasn't all work and no play. They went on, the grade 9 to 12 went on a field trip to Falcon Lake, and I think they wanted to go skiing, but they may not have been enough skiing, but at least they went tubing.
Thanks, Trustee Nichol. Anyone else? Trustee Rowan?
École Dugold School will be hosting their esports provincials this Saturday, starting at 9:30. In addition to the provincial finals, they will be featuring the top Minecraft builds from a competition that happened in February. The Springfield Music Association and the Springfield Music Parents Association will be having their meeting March 11th at 7 p.m. in the SCI band room. Dugold Pack has their meeting on March 12th at 7, so hopefully we can get some parents out to both of those. And some SCI students had an opportunity to meet with Prime Minister Trudeau at Festival de Voyageurs in February.
Thanks, Trustee Rowan. Anyone else? Trustee Smith?
I just wanted to let everyone know that Beaujeu Earlier's PAC meeting is March 12th at 7 p.m. in the library. I wanted to thank them for moving their meetings so I can attend. They used to be always on board nights, so I wanted to give them a big thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Smith. Anyone else? Lars? Every year, the Manitoba Council for Exceptional Children holds the Yes I Can Awards, and they invite submissions from all over the province for kids to receive awards. So we are happy to celebrate 4 kids this year who received awards at the Yes I Can Awards. Jayla Strong from Hazel Ridge in grade 5 in the area of self-advocacy. Ronan Green and Amar Ahmed, both in grade 8 at Springfield Middle School in the area of academics. Wyatt Larson in grade 8 in the area of art, also at Springfield Middle School. And a sort of a unique one this year, Abby Druzik in grade 12 received a scholarship to the University of Manitoba because she's pursuing a career in speech-language pathology, so that's a unique one to be celebrated. Thanks, Lars. Anyone else? Lars, what I'm thinking is that, you know, these kids are being recognized provincially, and part of me is saying is that what is Sunrise School Division doing? What I'm hearing from Kathy is the division does, but the board doesn't. That's kind of an embarrassing thing, I think, for us to think about, because I'm thinking about these kids in the Yes I Can Awards. No, thanks, Kath, for doing this. I think that let's talk about it and let's decide if that's something, we don't have to decide today, but let's decide as we meet trustees over the next little while, if it's something then that we can be doing as well for these kids, because it's a pretty big deal for these kids, particularly for the employees that work with the kids. I've seen our staff that are working with these kids, and it's a pretty big deal, and they get pretty excited, Lars too, certainly for it, and getting 4 people nominated for these or receiving these awards, it's a big deal. So let's think board ourselves about if it's something that we can go ahead and do as well. Anyone else share a story? Okay, thanks. Some pretty good article material that's there, isn't there? We have a board delegate, we have a school presenting to us. So Kath, I'm going to turn it over to you. And Chris, this is me saying this, so I am putting you on a timeline because we are going to be busy here, but I'm going to turn it over to Kath.
So I won't take any of Chris's valuable 10 minutes. I will talk fast, and Chris will probably talk faster than me to jam it all in. What I do know is there are great things happening at Dugald School, and he will close his presentation at whatever time he needs to, inviting each and every one of you to stop by, participate, and be active in their school anytime, any place, anywhere. Go. Chris, Angela, all yours.
Thank you so much, Chris Gaspardi. I've been told many times 10 minutes this week, many times.
I'm Angela Ward, and I'll be sure to elbow him just to make sure that we're on track for our 10 minutes.
We'll take that minute. We'll take that time on the end. Just go.
So just a little bit about our school. École Dugald is a K-8 French immersion school. We have approximately 510 students in our school, 27 classroom teachers, 4 specialists, and 6 student service support teachers. Chris and I talk about this a lot. We're kind of like 4 schools in one. We have the early years, the middle years, the English program, and the French immersion program. So it's a very busy but fun place to be.
Right, so how do you, and we ask ourselves this, how do you choose a goal with 4 schools in one? How do you do that when you have French immersion program and the English program working all in one setting? So we look at these things in many different avenues, and we look at commonalities between the differences, what's manageable, because the programming is different and the allotment of time is different depending on what you're teaching at what grade level. So what we decided this year moving forward, and you've heard me in the past talk about numeracy a lot, we did do a switch to our literacy goal. So our goal for, we say June 2024, I would say June 2024, but continuing that to 2025, 2026 hopefully, is that 95% of our students will attain 2 or better, but really the big piece behind what we're looking for is 70% of our students will attain 3 or 4 in the writing pieces and in the literacy focus. So we look at literacy, we say writing, but we look at literacy from a reading, writing, it's so many different pieces. So that's sort of what we've been focusing in on at Dugald.
And how we came to that was last year in April and May, we gathered our teachers together and we used the Sunrise Reading and Writing Continuums. And teachers brought student samples of work, their observations, assessment pieces, report card data, and we used all of that information to plot students on the reading and writing continuum. And then we kind of looked for, well, where's those areas of improvement that we need to start focusing in on and honing in on? And it was really interesting because from grade 1 to grade 8 consistently, it was with writing, in the area of writing, specifically to with writing conventions in mind. So that was the area that kind of guided our path moving forward with our school goal. So there's a lot of different resources that we're using to support our school goal. Right off the hop, we went and we purchased the Jan Richardson, this book, The Word Study and Phonics. You'll see it in the top corner of your screen for each teacher in our building for consistency purposes. And we've been accessing the program leaders, the literacy program leaders, to help implement this. It's quite a book to tackle. So we're accessing our program leaders to help us implement it. I've had Joanna come in for the grade 4-5 because I'm running the grade 4-5 PLC group at our school. And it's quite in-depth, but what we do is we take an online spelling inventory of students. It's a teacher administers the spelling inventory, and the spelling inventory group students based on the spelling patterns and where they're lacking and what they're doing really well in. From there, you have your small group instruction based on the students and how they're grouped. With the Jan Richardson book, it's teaching developmentally appropriate word study and phonics lessons through spelling patterns and phonological awareness. So it can be used both as like a whole class mini lesson to start your literacy block, but it can also be used for small group instruction as well. When Joanna came in with our 4-5 PLC, she gave us instruction on how to implement it as a whole class mini lesson, but then she also went into the grade 4-5 classrooms and showed how it can work with the students right in front of us. And it was really interesting to see how kids of all different academic achievement levels were all engaged in the lesson, and they were all excited to participate, and they were all taking away something from a spelling pattern. They were focusing in on CVC, which is consonant, vowel, consonant spelling patterns at that time. In the Jan Richardson book, so when you have these students that have their specific focus of where they need to grow and they have their small group instruction, and they provide word lists in the Jan Richardson book, which is great, but then they're also, if you need more words, a lot of teachers are accessing the Words Their Way as well in conjunction with Jan Richardson if there's more instruction needed for more, again, just more instruction. Another a huge resource that we've been using is Secret Stories. And it started with grade 1, and it's moved into grade 2, 3, and now it's moving into 4, 5 into different ways. But for Secret Stories, it's a tool that brings phonics instruction in a way that's engaging to kids. It's not very time-consuming with a rigid format, and it doesn't create a lot of extra work for teachers. When I think back to school, you're learning through story, right? Kids will remember the stories from teachers that they share. Well, this is a way of using it in an instructional way. So they're teaching spelling patterns using these little stories that they're hearing to learn about short A vowel or short A sounds and long A sounds.
Anybody here know what Secret Stories is? Show of hands. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to know. Yeah, it's good. We've had teachers that are very passionate about this program as well, which is neat too, because now what we're also doing is having those teachers jump into other classrooms and teach other teachers and show them how to use this with their students. It looks different from every age group. It is something that can be used from grade 1 all the way up to grade 8, but it just looks different depending on how you're modeling it. In grade 1, you're kind of setting the foundation of it with the stories, and then they're accessing it later on in grade 4 and 5 just with using like just a word map like this. I'm going, on one of the next slides coming up, you'll see a student who will share with you how they are accessing these stories and in order to assist their spelling patterns. So it'll give you a better idea of what it actually is and how they're utilizing it in their reading and writing. Don't jump forward just yet.
Yeah.
Just give me 8 seconds here because that was a lot of time. So what you're going to see, these are bulletin boards in the school, so you'll see the Secret Stories right there, which goes with this book. The students have access to these placemats to give them the recall of what the Secret Stories are, and then we also have the flip charts for small group instruction. When the teacher's sitting with a small group, they can go to the flip chart instead of going to the big board. And then what we do also in French immersion, we use Son Magique, and also what we're using is Raconte-moi les sons. So you'll see in French there is some posters, and in English you're seeing the same posters from a phonics base to get the kids really utilizing that. So just to see both aspects depending on the language of instruction.
One other, quick resource that we're also using is a lot of our teachers are wanting to be trained in Orton Gillingham training, which is specific to students with dyslexia. It's a very structured, direct, multisensory, and individualized instruction for students that we're seeing more and more students accessing, which has been beneficial for our school. So this is a grade 1 student, and he's going to model the Secret Story for short A and for long A, and I just wanted to give you a little tidbit in case you can't quite make out, because the grade 1 classroom is busy. So he's saying that the long A is a superhero because it says its name. So all the long vowel sounds are superheroes because they say their name. Whereas the short, but when it's short and lazy in disguise, the short A will just sit around all day munching on its favorite fruit like an apple. Apple. So the short vowel sound and a long vowel sound. So here we are I'll let him take it away. Grade 1.
So we don't have the video because it's a PDF on here, but I'll try and find it in a little bit.
Oh,
So I have the PDF one, not the Word one, but we'll look when you're done.
We'll come back to that.
So for professional development, we've been really accessing our program leader support through Natalie and Joanna. They're working directly with teachers in PLC groups, and they're also facilitating literacy PD opportunities for school sites. We have our team leaders in the school supporting teachers in PLC for consistent messaging and implementation of Jan Richardson word study models. Joanna's been great. She's been coming in. She demonstrates it in the classroom so you can actually see the benefits with the students before you, which really brings teachers on board with support with the resources that we're using. I was fortunate enough to actually be invited to SMS because I wanted to see what it looked like in a grade 6 classroom because they are also using Jan Richardson, the mini lessons to start their literacy block. So I can see it as it develops and grows into the grade 6 classroom. And the next step too is to take that PLC group and go to SMS and say, okay, this is what it is looking like so that they know that what they're doing makes a difference moving forward as well.
How do you get kids on board with a process? And it's Celebrate. Oh, see, timer's already done. I haven't said much. So how do we get them? We celebrate. We bring it to the forefront. We celebrate what we're doing to make it fun. So we took a few pictures of some bulletin boards in the school, and this is our middle years team. You know, how do we write? And it's all written things with errors in them, and then they flip up with the correct spelling. And it was amazing to stand in the hallway and look at the bulletin board and have other kids walk by and just read the correct and the errors. Oh, this is wrong. And so a great task for our middle years to really bring writing to life and to really celebrate what we're doing in our classrooms so that we're really pushing that piece in the classrooms.
In continuation of that, just really quickly, it's that opportunity for exposure to celebrate writing for our students. When you walk into École Dugald, if literacy and writing is our goal, you should be able to see that on the boards around the school, and we are seeing this more and more. I took a picture of this one because as I walk around, it actually has invitations for us to go into classrooms now because you see about kids writing about their personal journeys, like ringette or cooking with their parents. This one was really cute. It's like this year they did goal setting. This is a grade 1 classroom. This year I want to fight my inner critic and do what my inner coach wants me to do. Like, that was quite impressive. There's also invitations. I had a grade 1 class. They wrote me on this big poster, and it's still up on my door in my office, Madame Ward, are you available to read to our class? Because it was for I Love to Read. So there's those invitations, and it's all through writing that they're doing those invitations to Chris or I, and it's great to see. So for evidence of progress, just take a moment and try to read the passage on the left. I'm not going to take too long. However, the passage on the left and the passage on the right are the same passage that the student was supposed to write. One was done in September, the other one was done December 1st. So we know that the resources that we're using and the teaching that we're doing is making a difference. The passage on the left is supposed to say the same as the right. I have a big dog at home. Today I'm going to take him to school. So huge progress, huge success in our students at a very young age.
Now, I'm not going to go into big details because of the time, but what we're doing is we're implementing at Dugald a large database to be able to track students and their progress. So just to give you a quick snippet, this is one classroom, French immersion, middle years, grade 7. And this is, what we're doing is we're looking at the sound phonics based, but in middle years as well. So we're taking really the pieces that they need to know, and we're putting them back into play in the middle years. So what you're seeing is test 1, test 2. You're seeing the sounds at the top, un, ou, a, sh, on, a. Those are French sounds. And then test 1, test 2, and the progress of the student. So, and that's one classroom just showing what they've done from test 1 to test 2. Now, there could be 5 tests, but those tests just rotate back. So they're going always into new sounds, but then they would jump back and do a test again just to see how the kids are progressing throughout the year. If you flip to the next slide, I'm not going to go into details on it. So we track every single student. So what you saw on that chart was the class. This is every single student to be able to get to that end piece. So the idea is every single student in French immersion is being tracked this way. The goal is to bring it into the English language and then bring it down into the early years. So what we've been doing at Dougal, and I feel like most schools do this, we're always looking at the early years data and then we move up. Where this year we flipped it for our French immersion and we're tracking the middle years data and then we're going to move that down into the early years because we're doing different things in the early years right now. So we're going to be sort of moving this way, crossing, and then getting the whole school under a tracking tool. So it's something different that we're trying this year, and I give 100% props to one of our teachers, Madame Manon, who created this spreadsheet and who is a wizard with Excel, working with our student services team to get what she needs, but amazing work being done just to, and then we'll bring that whole school. Sorry, I'm moving. I won't go into details. I know school-based decision-making is something, I know Paul likes to talk about money, how we're spending our money. So these are some of the big pictures that we do spend. It's broad, it's wide, it's resources. It's a lot of resources. I'm saying it's building capacity in schools with team leaders. It's collaborating with program leaders. It's really enhancing the school, because when you walk into a building, you want to be proud of that building. You want to see and be a part of that space. So we do really look at school-based as a very wide base of dollars that serve a lot of different areas in our building. We're not just picking, we're really spreading that money out quite wide. And I can go into more details at another time, or in my office, anytime.
So the biggest thing for next steps is data collection. We want to create a whole school right, an early years and a middle years, to monitor student progress using the Sunrise Writing Continuums. We want to access our support through Natalie and Joanna, our literacy program leaders, to help us pick topics on this. And then we would do it again in the fall, in the spring. Each student would get their own folder with a sample of their writing, highlight where they're at with that writing convention, and see the progress that's made. And that would be a folder that would be tracked with them throughout their schooling at École Dougal. But again, it does require some support in how we're going to implement that. And a huge thing too is just to continue to promote student writing around the school and celebrate student writing on bulletin boards, at assemblies, announcements, in newsletters. Really give that student voice, that celebration, and a chance to shine.
Thank you. There's no time limit on answers to questions, is there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there is.
We're not letting you get away that easy, but thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. I'm going to start very briefly. Chris and Angela, your passion certainly comes out as you talk about your school, and you know what, that's great to see for us. You've just made 8 people in this room hear a little bit about Dougal School, and you can certainly just see it from how you're going. And yes, you probably could talk to us for a long time as to where it is. We understand, but in the short term, you know what we just heard is that it's very evident. So thanks for going ahead and doing that. Questions for anyone? Trustee Ed.
I got a couple, I think. So I'm hearing lots about the phonetic reading.
Mm-hmm.
Is that replacing a different style of education that you used in the past, like whole word reading or sight words, or can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, I can start. So, I don't know, I mean, everybody may know this. So my background is in mathematics, 100%. So for the last 3 years, I really, for my own personal goals, is literacy. How do we support students in literacy? How do we really push that? And what I've seen in my role is more students who are really struggling in the literacy piece. It's the reading, it's the writing, more diagnoses of learning disabilities, dyslexia, and all those things are coming out. And through my research and through all the education that I've been doing over the last 3 years, the phonics-based instruction is just coming back to the limelight. So I would say we were all taught with more of a phonics-based instruction. And I think the idea is that shift has happened, and now it's how do we meld the two back together. And I say meld because sometimes a lot of people say, well, it's working for most of the students, why would we throw it out and bring something in, which is true. But phonics also worked for all of us and a lot of students as well. So how can we meld those two, getting an understanding of what students know? Because I think, you know, with all the testing and all the different observations that we do as classroom teachers and student services, we can see what the students' needs are. So if we're able to create I would say a leveled idea around specific groupings of students and their needs instead of this is how I'm teaching, then we can then move students and give them what they need. And which Angela said around the Orton Gillingham training and all those other pieces that I'm going to say with the support of the school division and Trevor really spearheading that last year, we had a lot of conversations about that. We have 10 teachers in our school trained in Orton Gillingham. We're trying to really broaden our perspectives and give teachers the tools to be able to teach the kids in front of them, because not all kids learn the same way. So it's really trying to meld them now, though, because now we get the questions as, oh, I learned this in OG, should I be doing this? But then this student, so now it's having those conversations around what's best for that kid, right? And can we group some kids together because they have similarities and commonalities? Absolutely, right? It might not work perfectly, but we're going to do our best, because when you have 20, 25 in front of you, you kind of have to do those things. I don't know if that answers your questions, but really melding the two I think is important. And that really is, with all the right to reads in other provinces, they're all coming in with those perspectives, so I think it's important to look at them as a whole.
Yeah, I think it does, so I appreciate that feedback. When we're talking about writing, there seemed, in my perspective, from my perspective anyway, that there was a little bit of a movement that if the kids were writing phonetically, like how they heard things, that we weren't correcting that kind of work. Am I to take from this that we're now starting to correct that? So like instead of, if it sounded like it could be a C or a K, they might have put the wrong letter in there, but now we're correcting those kind of things? Is that kind of what I'm grasping? I'm just thinking back to when I was a much younger individual and getting that paperback with a lot of red on it. And so I'm wondering, like, are we still keeping the spirits up of the students? We're still educating them? Are we making all those corrections, or how is that being received by the students if we are doing that?
Want me to answer?
Yeah, sure, go
I love
for it.
to. Okay, so the way I look at it is depends on the grade level. Okay, at your younger years, you really want that love, you want that passion, you want them to be confident. So I think there's less emphasis on that correct spelling, but the sound is important. Like school, I don't know if I think there was a SK, right? So that would be a celebration because that is readable, that is understandable, etc. But then you move up to the grade 2, 3, and then those kids that have that confidence and that understanding, it's to be able to teach them that this is understanding, I can read it, but there is a mistake here and we can move forward with that, getting the correct spelling. But it's bringing that, we worked on this goal 4 years ago at the school, and that was, let's say, what was it called? It was perseverance. It was through mathematics. But basically it was creating classroom environments where kids felt safe, secure to make errors. And I feel like with that in place, the correction of students is much easier, and they're much more confident to be able to be corrected. So that does come, but at a later stage. Yeah, because we do want them to have that joy. And I don't want to say we don't want to crush their spirits later. That's not what I'm saying. But we want the joy. We want the joy to be. Did I say that out loud? Shut my mic off now. You know, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think productive struggle is...
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy. I was so nervous in this big group.
Anyone else? Is the video able?
I will. So I think what I'll do is I'll send the video because I don't have the Word document here.
Trustee Nicol.
This is a comment rather than a question. When I look at page 23 here, it brought back memories to 1948 when I was in grade 6. In grade 1. The only thing they did differently is they added some technology. I see this dry erase marker. We used to use a slate board. I see this magnetic letters. We used to use letters on a piece of cardboard. The only difficult about that, make sure you didn't cough or sneeze, otherwise you were picking them up roll on the floor. So that was one good.
Now we got the magnetic, right? See right here.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, this must be a very good program because it's very similar to when I went in grade 1 and I learned to read pretty fast, so I'm pretty sure this is a very good program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the beauty of that program is it's K to 8. Like, of course, there's differences depending on the grade levels, but we can as a school, because I said commonalities, right? You have multiple schools, middle years, early years, so we utilize that book to bring everybody together, right? Yeah, which is great.
Anyone else? Trustee Smith?
I thought we were around the same age. Don't you remember Hooked on Phonics works for me? No? 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 Okay. No! I had a question about the dyslexia. How are they assessed? Is that before they come to you, or you guys, how are you finding that a lot of kids are having that now?
So it would be through our school psychologists or external sources, yeah. It would be a diagnosis from external, yeah.
Alicia, that's probably a good question eventually for Lars, and Lars can fill you in for that. We're not going to take any of their time, but Lars can come back to you certainly with that. Anyone else? Diane?
Just further to that dyslexia, what does it take to have a teacher trained in the Gillingham program there? Like, is it inside the school, online? How are they getting that? What does that cost?
That's a great question. So it is not inside the school. There is a program in Winnipeg, and it's through Valdine is her name, and we've done it through that program. It is not a cheap program. It's about $900 for one teacher to be trained in it. It's a 4-day intensive training, 2 days 1 week, and then there's about a couple weeks off, depending on the session, and then you go back for 2 more intensive days. And it is rigorous 8 to 4:30. That comes also with 4 $200 substitute days. So you're adding really another $800 onto that. But the work with Trevor, the conversations last year, we were able to do a divisional buy, I guess you could call it, where you have so many from the division that go, which brought the cost down to around $380 per person. So that really dropped the price. And then also what we did from a school's perspective, because think of that on a school budget, that's extremely costly. We asked teachers who are interested if they'd be willing to use their professional development dollars. And then if they had other plans in place, then they would utilize that, and then we would cover it through different means. Yeah, we can't train everybody in 1 year. It's just too difficult. But the goal is to have a progression of training throughout, where if we can at least get 1 or 2 people per grade level trained going through, then that would be a good starting point. And our student services team was very important and integral in that work with the classroom teachers. So that's where we started as a school anyway. Yeah.
Thanks. Chris, just so to clear about their professional development dollars, you're talking about contractual PD? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Yep. Trustee Harris.
I'm looking at your school website, and it says that you're hosting the provincial playoffs this Saturday for esports. You want to talk to that for a few minutes?
More than welcome to join. Absolutely. It's one of our big events, and we have 3 extremely passionate esports coordinators at our school, where Nathan Koblin, he is the national liaison now, so we are very lucky to have him. And then we have Jody Cragen and Ryan Harabi who run the team. And so yeah, this is the big event for the groups. We have teams coming on buses from Thompson and coming down, and so that event's going to happen Saturday. We actually have the division setting up a stage and chairs because I think it's going to be a larger event than we thought, just because everybody's on board. So it's come take a look. It's going to be quite the event. Yeah, and esports at our school, it's exponentially growing. It's something that really kids are buying into. It's a great piece for the school. It brings a lot of camaraderie, just like school sports in the gym do. So we're very proud, and we really support our team, and the kids love it. And it really brings a lot of I say a family feel to those kids. So yeah, come out. It's going to be quite the event.
Thanks, Chris. Anyone else? So Chris and Angela, I'd like a comment and a question. My comment is, I really like the way that you've written your school goal. I really like the idea about that you're shooting for the stars. And when people say 95% and put in 70%, it's not whether you get there or not, in my opinion, but this is kind of what your expectations are that you're heading towards. And you know what, whether you get there or not, it's really about the conversation around it, about where you've gone in the journey and how do you get better at, you know, how do you get 96 or how do you go from 90 to 91 or those kind of things. So I'm really impressed by that. That's something that I understand and like, so kudos to you. We're probably in the next 10 minutes going to go ahead and vote on a budget. So if you can, you're the last school that's going to get a chance to influence 8 trustees about going ahead and voting, and you don't have 10 minutes. You've got about a minute, Chris and Angela. What are some of the things that you can say that should be important to trustees as we look at a divisional budget over the next in probably 5 minutes?
You want to go or me?
Go.
You want me to go?
Give her.
Okay. Well, you know, if I could pick one thing. So you've heard us talk a lot about literacy, supporting kids that, you know, we have more students that are coming in with, you know, learning disabilities and things like that. And supporting those kids in the classroom for educators is becoming more and more complex. Okay? And so if I could ask for anything, I would ask for more educational assistance in my building. That's what I would ask for. And do you want me to elaborate or no? I can talk about it forever. You know, what's with it? So what we're seeing is more and more students need that educational push, bump, support. More and more students in a classroom. Say you have, you know, students with different needs. 1 or 2, yeah, teachers can manage, teachers can deal, but when we're looking at small group instruction, and really that's the emphasis in schools because we feel that's the best teaching that we can give to students. If there's 6 or 7 that can't manage outside of that small group instruction, it becomes very complicated. And having those extra people to keep people on track and keep people moving forward and supporting those kids in those, it's not just a babysitter, it's how can we support these students, especially with these new focused interventions like the Orton Gillingham training, with these things that we're doing that we can have educational assistance to support in that learning, because our student services are very integral in our building and they need to have access to be supporting those really, really struggling kids in need and have those educational assistants to really support the rest. So you asked, that's what I would ask for. Yeah.
Angela, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. What would you, do you want to jump in and say anything different?
The same, honestly. Just for that small group instruction, it's tedious for one teacher to be in front of a room trying to balance that small group instruction, which we know is best practice. Having an EA in the room definitely supports that from a classroom teacher lens.
All right, so thank you very much, certainly on behalf of the board. Thanks for coming out and presenting. And you weren't that bad about going over, you're not the worst school, so take it back that way. No, I'm just kidding. No. Yeah. Kat, go ahead.
2 really quick things. I know we introduced a new acronym tonight, so I wanted to just make sure that we got PLC as Professional Learning Community. And so our schools typically will have their collaboration time where grade level groups will meet in a professional learning community, and we call those PLCs. So in case that's a new acronym we haven't seen, just make sure you have that. And then just a shout out to you guys, because I know that the difficulty of being a French immersion school or a French immersion educator is finding les ressources en français. Always difficult, and you're doing that in a parallel, balanced way so that all of your staff and all of your students feel valued with the work that they're doing around language. So that is hard to do, and you're doing a brilliant job with it.
Yeah, so again, thanks on behalf of all of us for coming out. We appreciate you taking the time, and it's, again, it's great to see as you bring passion to the job. We certainly saw that tonight, so thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Yep. We're going to move forward ourselves. We have 5.0 as minutes, so minutes from our February 20 regular board meeting. Be it resolved that the board adopt our February 20 board meeting minutes. I need a move and a second. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Boyson. Any questions to the minutes of February 12th? Sorry, February the 20th? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. It passed 8-0. Thank you. We also have minutes from February 22nd of a special budget meeting. Be it resolved, the board adopt the February 22nd board meeting minutes. Mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Smith, seconded by trustee Rowland. Any questions to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. Passed 8-0. Thank you for that. Kath, we have a superintendent's report. Floor is yours.
Thanks. A couple of quick highlights. Last time I spoke about the Developing Leaders cohort, so that's happening still in April, but I wanted to highlight three new things here. So just last week, Wednesday, we got word from Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning that school divisions, that grade 10 ELA math and in grade 10 just ELA and math provincial assessments, as well as the grade 12 ELA math and Francais exams are not taking place across school divisions next year. They are looking at pausing the practice, reviewing and revising so that they can come up with some provincial standards tests done at the senior years level that look different than they have in the past. I did include the letter, so you have the exact letter that you can read, but that's a pretty big change to assessment practices coming from the province. So just an FYI. I think I spoke about the French immersion change last time. I do want to mention that these trustees around the room are doing some hard work in the next 2 weeks. 21st and 22nd, they'll be attending their annual conference and AGM, where their voice around the province gets to be heard by all other trustees, and they get to do some high-quality learning, so that's coming up for them. And then lastly, just that reminder that spring break for staff and students is quickly approaching. So Friday the 22nd is also our last day before spring break, and we are back on April 1st. So school divisions do not have Easter Monday off. Some provincial organizations do, but school divisions do not. So if you're heading out of town for Easter, school is on Monday, April 1st.
Thanks, Kath. Any comments for Kath? Kath, I'm going to make one comment, and I want to put it on record as well. I'm not a big supporter of us not having provincial exams. And I don't think the provincial exams are the be-all, end-all. But I like the idea that they're one part of an assessment, and that teachers give you the bulk of the assessment from the work that you're doing, and you heard it from there. But I did like the idea about us having provincial exams. I heard on the car ride here today, our Minister of Education talking about, they're going to go back and take a look at what they're doing. I think that the provincial exams are developed by our teachers. They're marked by our teachers. There's been great professional development from when teachers get together in Sunrise and they mark exams together. So I'm a little disappointed. I know it's not in any of our hands right now. But I'm a little disappointed that they're not there. I see Don across there. I know that Don's going to go ahead and say. But anyways, my comment. Open it up to anyone else. Trustee Nicol.
Well, I'm not disappointed that they didn't do the grade 12, because I always thought the grade 12 exam wasn't the place where it was supposed to be. The kids are already at school end of June, and so what? So they didn't know how to do patterns, they didn't know how to do this, but they were all going to university. To me, grade 12 wasn't the place to have developmental exams. I liked the developmental exams, but I didn't think grade 12 was the place to have it. That's why I liked when they went down to grade 10, which I thought was a good place to have it.
Anyone else, other comments? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Kath. We have our draft reporting schedules for information there for you at 6.2. Kath?
A couple of changes, and I'm thinking maybe there needs to be a couple of colors for some changes. So the grade 3-4, I just wanted to highlight that when we have the grade 3-4 provincial assessment, it's still on the go. And in conversation with the province, we won't have those results till the end of March. So it floats back here, and then it will, get checked off, or you have an orange box here when we bring that report. The other thing is that we've had a request for SCI and Gillis to switch their dates. So if you were going by a previous draft, you will note that we make those changes and they're not indicated. So if you always just look at the most current, that will be the most up-to-date one that we do, so we do change those. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for pointing that out. Questions? Go ahead, Trustee Rowland.
Not sure this is the right time to ask that, but when would you get results back from grade 12 English exam?
So we typically don't get the exam results from the grade 12 I want to say until the summertime and sometimes well into the fall. So some of the lag time also on the reporting is another piece that is a pretty key piece. Classroom teachers get that information immediately because they're marking their own exams and they're sending them off to the province. But we as a division or as a school don't have that comparative data till usually the fall. The grade 3-4 assessment that we're getting at the end of March was done in October, November.
Thanks, Kath. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on. 7.1, Jody.
As usual, I'd like to update everybody with our departments, what they've been up to. And everybody's been pretty busy with keeping up with day-to-day information. So I'm just going to focus on transportation. There was a while back here at the board level, there was a conversation about can we buy electric buses. So the PTU, or the Pupils Transportation Unit, did provide some clarification. They actually made a presentation to a number of transportation managers at one of our regional meetings for MASBO, which is our Manitoba Association of School Officers. So we can get together with secretary, treasurers, transportation and maintenance. They put the group of the transportation managers together to talk about the electric buses. So what they did clarify is school divisions are able now to purchase electric buses. Divisions cannot convert old buses into electric buses. And then when pursuing the purchase of an electric bus, a school division is to post a tender just because of the threshold. There are some vendors that were going around about 2 years ago asking school divisions to kind of sign an agreement that you kind of get into research with these organizations, but as far as I know, there was no one in our area that did. So at this time, though, there are no electric buses, no electric bus options in the provincial tender. So it's still just the fuel of propane, gas, and diesel. But if we want to pursue it next year, we would then pursue it ourselves. At this time, they did not give us an estimate if they would put an electric bus in the tender. They did do a little demonstration for cold winter use. The results were not anything to write about. They had an electric bus for 2 days for cold winter days, and they tried it in the rural areas and in the urban areas. And really the results were not saying that they had long battery use or anything like that. It was recognized that it was cold, and the battery life, it was affected by the temperature, but nothing as a report that came out, just more of a verbal update to transportation managers.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? Okay. You got off easy, Jody. Let's move on. Board business. So we have a motion on here about our budget. The process will be I'll read out our motion. I'll get a mover and a seconder, and we are going to give every trustee an opportunity to talk to the motion, and then we'll vote on it. So be it resolved, the board to give final approval to the 24-25 operating budget totaling $81,793,532 in operating expenditures and transfers to capital, excluding adult learning centers. And be it further resolved that the board approve the special requirement for the 2024 fiscal year to be set at $49,913,187, resulting in a special levy for 2024 for all municipalities being set at $42,372,356. So I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol, seconded by Trustee Dent. Mr. Nicol, Trustee Nicol, since you moved it, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go ahead and speak to this first, please.
All right. This year's budget has been one of the most difficult to set in my 5 years, so in my 5 terms as a school trustee. We try to balance the needs of our Sunrise students and the needs of our ratepayers. This, I believe, we did with great difficulty. Quality education is very important in today's world, and quality education is what we strive for in this budget. Some of the factors making it challenging was inflation and the impending wage increase. Compounding the problem was the fact that education had been underfunded for several years. In the last few years, we have been restricted in the amount of money we could raise from the local taxpayers, while the system was underfunded by the provincial government. Last year, we had to take over $600,000 from our accumulated surplus to balance the budget. The fact this provincial government allows the board to raise the needed funds for quality education was a blessing for all Sunrise students. I hope this government will continue to value quality education and enable Sunrise to offer quality education by adequate provincial funding and adequate local funding. Some people think that the new funding model will solve education funding. The new model will solve nothing. If the government does not put adequate money in the kitty. This is not what we've seen in recent years. It is not the formula that is the problem. It's how much money the government puts into the budget for education that is the problem. From 1999 to 2009, no one complained about the formula because the government of the day was putting adequate money in the budget. I call on the present government to continue to fund education adequately as they did in 1999 to 2009. Most of the taxpayers of White-Mouth Reynolds area value quality education and are willing to pay an extra 20 cents a day to achieve quality education for the students in Ward 1. This is an advertisement now. If any Ward 1 resident would like White-Mouth and Gross students to obtain a higher quality education, they can donate to the Sunrise Educational Foundation. You can phone 268-6514 or 348-2818, that's my number, to get further details how you can get a tax receipt and how you can give money to the Education Foundation, where that money will be funneled into the White-Mouth and Gross schools.
Thanks, Trustee Nicol. Trustee Rowan.
I don't know if I want to follow that one up. I'll keep it short. I just want to say that we were faced with making some difficult decisions. I appreciate the hard work that the entire board put in to pass this, hopefully pass this today. It was sad when we got the funding model and found out how much the province had allocated to us to get 0.7% of our operating budgets and work with that with the inflation. Unfortunately, that meant that we had to go to the ratepayers to be able to continue to give the students the education that they've come to expect from Sunrise School Division. I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you, Trustee Rowan. Trustee Smith?
Okay, after many hours of preparations and meetings, I'm pleased with the work that we have, as a board, have done with our MEND team. As always, the Sunrise School Division will do our best to provide the education our students need, and I'm pleased with the results, and I'm happy with our budget the way it is.
Thanks, Trustee Smith. Trustee Rowan?
I would just like to add to all those comments that following our public presentation of budget a short while ago, I only received positive feedback on what we had done, and we are sticking with the original budget that we did present, and I think this full board is in support of that, and we've done our best, and I think our taxpayers and our residents are going to be happy, and we have a thriving division to luckily support our education.
Thanks, Trustee Rowan. Trustee Blakeman?
Well, ditto to what everybody has already said. Last July, I was able to attend the CSBA, the Canadian School Boards Association convention, and one of the speakers spoke about our school division's funding, and she called it predictably inadequate, and that's how it was again this year, so it's always very disappointing. So we were fortunate that the government has given us the opportunity to tax to get our funding or budget money up to the level that we need it to be. And I think people will be happy to see what will be coming forward. I think our students and staff deserve it, and our division as a whole. So we've worked really hard, and our senior administration, you know, you guys have provided us with so much information. I don't think anything is lacking, so it was all put out in front of us. We saw it, all our questions were answered, and I think the decision we make tonight is a great decision.
Thanks, Trustee Boydton. Trustee Dent?
Yeah, I think Trustee Nicol did a phenomenal job in just kind of summarizing not only this year but his experience. So, Don, I really appreciate that. That was really well written and really well done. It was a challenging year for me. This was the second year, and first year I thought was challenging. This year was almost more so in some regard. It was difficult to go to our ratepayers. But I do know that folks in Ward 4 also value, just like they do in Whitemouth, you know, good education, and if that means supporting the school through increasing the mill rate, then that's what they'll then they were willing to absorb that. I also know that our admin team, again, not only hard work just in doing the budget during budget season, but throughout the year and just making sure that, you know, all the dollars are being allocated where they need to. And I hope it radiated as well just from having Chris and Angela here today, just their enthusiasm. So the upper senior admin does such a great job to make sure that everybody's got kind of the tools that they need from the budget that we create. And then our admin and our schools are leading the way in making sure that that translates into the best education possible for all of our students. So thank you again.
Thanks, Trustee Dent. Trustee Harris?
This year's budget process was a very important and challenging time of year for our division. I am thankful we have understanding residents in Sunrise School Division that recognize our need to increase school taxes a nominal amount to allow us to provide quality education and support to our students and staff. A special shout out to our senior admin for the hard work they did in getting the information to trustees to make informed decisions.
Yeah, Robin, I want to ditto that. First of all, I want to say thank you to the people that provided us with the information. And there was some really good conversation around this board table, so I'm very happy with the 7 of you, the 8 of us in together, certainly with the conversations that we've had and the information that has had to go back and our senior admin to bring us that information, so thank you. My comments are that, you know, children are coming to school with many more issues than in the past, my belief. And teachers are being asked to do way more than just teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, I think. And like it or not, schools are taking on way too many responsibilities. And for this reason, I'm supporting this budget. We need to give teachers all the resources that they need. We need to provide to all of our divisional departments with the tools that they need so they can support our classrooms with the motto, how can I help? This is why I'm supporting this budget that's coming through. I think that it's the balance. Don, Trustee Nicol talked about the balance, about being supporting our schools and being responsible to our ratepayers. I do believe that the 8 of us have sat around and talked about that an awful lot and have considered that as we've made this decision. So thank you to everyone. Don, I'm going to turn it over to you, last comment.
I'm not going to rehash what I already said. I believe 100% what I said, and I think it's up to the government to put their mouth where the money is, or put the money where the mouth is, whatever you want to call it. So I'm calling the government to make sure that don't just think that putting that new formula out is going to be a salvation, because it isn't. If you only got $100 and you divide them among 37 divisions, it doesn't go very far. We need something like $100 million to divide, or maybe $200 million. I'm just giving you a figure. the higher the figure, the better. The how you divide is not as important as the figure you start with.
So Don, I think that, and for all of us, that is something as we come up to the professional development that Kathy talked about when we go to MSBA, the Manitoba School Boards Association, and talk about it. I know that'll be a hot topic and for us to go ahead and continue to have that conversation. Point well said. We're going to, with no other comments, we're going to go ahead and vote now. So it passed 8-0. Thank you very much. This is where our senior admin now kind of going to do this, and I go, oh, thank God. Thank that it's over as to what it is. You guys have done some really good work, all four of you that are here, and the other people that have helped you. Thanks for that. Monthly enrollment, we have information there, 8.2. We have that for information. Anybody questions on that? Okay. We have bus purchases. Be it resolved that the board approve the purchase of up to 7 buses subject to budget capacity. Be it further resolved the board approve the transfer from the bus reserve to support the purchase of buses. In a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Smith. Any comments about the buses? No more comments about buses. Any comments about buses? Okay, we'll vote. It passed 8-0. Thank you. Jody and Jason are putting smiles on their faces now, and they're moving on that. So that's great for our division. Thank you. Sunrise Reading Interventions. This is you, Kath. Take it away. Oh, Trevor, go ahead, Mr. Reed.
Thank you. You have the report there in front of you. It's about literacy interventions in Sunrise, which traditionally has taken the form of reading recovery. Go through some of the highlights of the report there with you. There's many strong opinions about reading recovery, and most of them are very polarizing, one end of the spectrum or the other. But it's probably not healthy to engage in that debate and try and label that as a good or a bad program. And that's not what this decision is about. We know that there's parts of reading recovery that are consistent with, how children learn how to read, and we also know, unfortunately, that there's parts of the reading recovery program that are not consistent with how children learn how to read. And what this all translates to is it's probably not the best intervention that we can provide students in Sunrise. There are more accessible and probably more effective ways that we can help students who are struggling, with their reading. So moving to an intervention structure that allows literacy support teachers, to work with students in small groups on foundational literacy skills, will allow our schools to effectively support more students. And as the report indicates, we'd like to convert our reading recovery FTE into a more flexible literacy support FTE. And use an intervention structure that focuses on the best practices in literacy instruction. And maybe timing, good timing with Dougald here this evening talking about literacy, and we talked to just one small example of what this would allow us to do is Chris and Angela spoke about the need for more educational assistance to support small group learning in classrooms. This type of switch would also support small group learning in classrooms where we, instead of having a reading recovery teacher pulling one student out to go do a lesson, that teacher can go into the classroom and work with any number of students, really anywhere from 3, 4, 5, or 6 students would probably be the effective number in terms of supporting students. That's the nuts and bolts. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Mr. Reed. Mr. Trustee Nicol.
For this coming year, the number that's allotted to each school will stay in place, because I looked at the last paragraph. It says that if a school had 0.5 reading recovery, like in Whitemouth, that in the future they may only have not a 0.5 anymore. But for next year, is that 0.5 still in place?
Yeah, so I think we're a little bit late in sort of the staffing hiring cycle to make any changes and pull things, away from schools or make changes for schools. So we would leave the reading recovery staffing as it is allocated for the 24-25 school year. But I think it's worth a look going forward in terms of student numbers and the number of struggling readers in each of our schools, and allocating those 5 positions based on student need rather than block based on school. So at this time, I couldn't necessarily tell you which schools would go up and which schools would go down in terms of any changes that would happen. We would actually have to look at the number of struggling readers in each school and try and make sure that we were getting support to places that it was needed the most.
Anyone else? Trustee Boyd.
I've mentioned a few times I've always been a fan of reading recovery because it helped a member of my family get to the point where we graduated from university. But I definitely would support more a program that would cover all students, because I know that with reading recovery, it could only handle so many students. And I always worried about, okay, what about the kids that, you could only take 10, what about the 11 and 12 and 13, what happens to those kids? And this sounds like this is going to cover more people, and I'm a fan of it already. So I don't want to see any kids left behind. So I definitely would support this.
Anyone else? Trustee Boyton, I think I'm in the same boat as you, as knowing many children that were able to get into reading recovery and many children that weren't able to get into reading recovery. And I think then that, and again, I think that reading recovery did a very good job one-on-one, but the volume of children that we probably missed out, I hear you loud and clear. And so I think that if we can get into, Mr. Reid, to handle as many kids as we can, and by going into classrooms, kudos. And again, it doesn't mean that we can't still use some of those strategies that we've learned through reading recovery. So thanks very much. Trustee Smith.
I had one son that did do, actually I think 2 of my sons did do reading recovery, but I do know that one of them was on a waiting list for a long time. So I do know that there are other kids behind him. So if we can help more kids, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for that. Media feedback, that's 8.5. I think that we as a board are looking at how we are going to be engaging with our public, and we are coming up in April reviewing our strat plan. One of our pillars in our current strat plan is about community connections from the schools and then from trustees. So it's about how we're reaching out and communicating with the public. So the board is continuing on. We are going to continue to talk about this at our board meetings, about feedback, and one avenue certainly is through the media. So we've agreed to continue to talk about this. We will spend some more time on it when we are looking at our strat plan review, and we're doing that in the beginning of April. So we'll keep that more and bring more information on this later. Anybody want to comment? Okay, thank you. 8.6 is the Lac-du-Bonny Senior Travel Club. Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Lac-du-Bonny Senior School Travel Club 2025 trip to Paris and London, March 28th, 2025 to April the 4th, 2025, subject to the superintendent's final approval. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Boyton. Any comments to this? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Passed 8-0, thank you. 8.7 Whitemouth School Phys Ed 40S Calgary Field Trip, May 31st to June the 3rd. Physics 40S. Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Whitemouth School Physics 40S field trip to Calgary, May 31st to June 3rd, 2024, subject to superintendent's final approval. Moved by trustee Nichols, seconded by trustee Smith. Any questions of this? The physics group is going to Calgary. Interesting. All right. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Interesting request.
Mm-hmm.
It's in there, why they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I should vote.
Yeah. It's past 8-0. Thank you, trustee Harris. So we have committee reports and recommendations. So our policy committee, trustee Nichol, can you take us through anything from the policy committee?
Yes, we had the policy committee on February 29th, and I think that March 14th is a change from what we used to have. Is that right? But that's when our next meeting will be. Maybe maybe it is a regular one because we had to change a few of the meetings dates, but they will be in the calendar now, so everybody should know. So it's March 14th. We have notice of motion. So I'm telling you there's a notice of motion, and I forgot the number. Do you have the number? 6. Okay. Policy 6. So there'll be notice of motion that will be bring forward the next meeting. Okay.
So can we talk on microphones? Is there any highlights to that, please?
No.
So nothing else then, trustee Nichol? Are we good?
Yeah, there's nothing else, and thanks to Alicia for letting me know that. Yeah, it's April 1 that we've changed so that if you're intending to go online and because we do have on Teams, if you want to listen to us talk, you can at any time. We just ask you to make sure you don't interrupt us because we go at a fairly good pace.
Thank you, trustee Dent.
Yeah, I just noticed that there was a spelling mistake on board policy manual for 6.6.
Thank you. We can do a friendly amendment to that. Thanks. Anything else? Any questions for the policy committee? Thanks, trustee Nichol, for going ahead and doing that. The finance committee, Chair Boyson, anything from the finance committee?
No, the minutes are in the package. If you notice in the minutes, there is a request to have an agenda item added, and I did send an agenda request to trustee Magnan for whatever meeting you decide to put it on. And our next meeting is going to be on Monday, March the 18th. Comes off of our schedule because that's the same week as our convention. So we changed it from the Thursday to the Monday. So Monday the 18th is our next meeting.
Thank you. Just as well, let people know that trustee Boyton will be the signing authority for the month of March. And, excuse me, 812, be it resolved that the board received the January 2024 check register. Total amount of checks issued at $3,878,116.63, reviewed on February 24th by the Finance Committee for information as submitted. Moved by trustee Boyton, seconded by trustee Dent. Any questions to that? Hearing none, we'll vote, please. Thank you. That passed 8-0. Jody, I don't think that we have anything with the Educational Foundation meeting. Is that correct? Okay. So professional development, that's here. For information, MSBA annual general meeting coming up the 21st and 22nd. Everybody should be aware. Any questions certainly about that? Okay. Conference, CAPSUL and CSBA. There was some discussion about CAPSUL, but the one trustee that came to me about CAPSUL has said that they're no longer interested. Is anybody interested in the CAPSUL conference? Okay. CSBA conference, we have another trustee that's interested in the CSBA conference, and that's Trustee Smith. Correct, Trustee Smith? Trustee Harris? Okay. So currently we have, help me with this, Jody or Kathy, we already have Melissa going to the conference. And so do we have the funds to send 3 to the conference?
The last time I looked, the estimated cost was $4,000 a piece. That includes airfare, hotel. So our total budget for this is $15,000. So we would be looking at utilizing majority of the budget.
But part of the money is coming from this year, and then part of the money is coming from next year as well, right?
This would be all for next year in the 24-25 budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just so that we are. But do we not have money? Do we have any money left over in the current budget to cover that? To cover any costs?
Yeah, we could. It is on. My mic is on. Yeah, bring forward other budget dollars. We would be utilizing out of the accumulated surplus.
No, that's not my question. My question is there current money that's in our budget this year that can go and cover some of the costs for the July 3rd to July 5th?
Not really, unless you're obtaining consumables, if there's materials that we're purchasing ahead of time, because the cost in the event is actually taking place in the new budget year in July. It has to take place in those periods. I guess in the event where, say, there's airfare that's been purchased ahead of time, that could be questionable depending on when the credit card payment is made, but usually those payments are made in July.
Okay, have we underspent our trustee budget in this calendar year?
Yes. Yeah, we probably have, I have to take a look again, but I want to say it's about $5,000 left.
Okay, so what I'm saying to the board is I think that we have underspent by $5,000 this year, and then is there potential for us to, for us next year, as the budget starts July the 1st, that we can spend the money to allow the three people to go. That's my thinking and rationale, Trustee Nicol.
Well, the trouble is that we're going to a big conference and we don't know what it's going to cost, so I think it's very hard to decide whether we underspent or whether we overspent, because we don't know it. I don't think the Secretary Treasurer knows, because I don't know, but that doesn't matter that she doesn't know. But how many people are going to be spending for 2 days there? How many people are staying 3 days, and all that costs extra money, and it's too vague. So I don't think that I think if we talk about it a month from now, we have a better idea, but to talk now, I think you're just projecting.
Okay, so my understanding is that we have maybe I'm wrong, that we have a budget that sends our trustees to MSBA, and we have a budget then that sends our trustees to conferences and professional learning. So I'm not talking about the MSBA money. We've got that because that's covered in a different budget. What I asked is that have we underspent our professional development budget from this current year? And I think what you told me is that we've underspent that by $5,000. Yes. Okay. Tell me if I'm wrong about this thinking. So we've underspent by $5,000, and next year we're going to have, for the ease sake, we're going to have $10,000 in that budget. We're going to combine the two budgets to allow those three people to go. That is my thinking. Trustee Nicol. Sorry.
If I was an accountant, I wouldn't let you do that, because I don't think you can combine 2 years in one. That's not the way the accounting works. So okay. I wouldn't be in favor of that. I like doing accounting according to accounting principles, and I'd rather have the money going into accumulated surplus and then saying, okay, the money in the accumulated surplus, so we can take the accumulated surplus out and put it into but just to transfer it like this, okay, I don't think that's going to accounting principles.
Okay.
At least when I was teaching accounting.
I got you, Don. We allow our schools to carry money over, whether we however you want to go ahead and do it. It's not that it's costing us, it's not that it's potentially costing us more money. The trustees have that budget, and it's not really costing us any more money, is really the information that I'm trying to get out. Okay? Trustee Rowan?
Well, further to that mindset, we are currently running in our future, down the agenda report for divisional financial summary. We are going to be running at $1 million deficit for this year. So I don't really feel that there's any need to, we could save $5,000 on our $1 million deficit and not go ahead and spend that. And I think anyways, according to generally accepted principles, we would be allocating that money in next year. And if we're not certain on what we're going to do about how many people, I'm not certain, I would agree to 3 participants going to this thing. So if we need more time in the next meeting, we still have a little bit of time. This is in July, or we can put it to a vote now, but those are my 2 cents.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you're suggesting. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, did we not agree to have Trustee Rowan to go to, so Trustee Rowan is going. So right now we have 2 other people that are asking to go, and I guess currently in our budget for next year, we only have room for 1 to go. That's what my understanding.
We could, sorry, I'll correct you. We can, I don't know if this is, there we go. So considering if it's $15,000 with all of them going at $4,000 a piece, there would be room, but it would mean no other PD available for anything else. So capsule next year would not be available to everybody or anybody.
I thought that's what I was trying to say over the last little while. I'm struggling, and I'm sorry about that. That didn't come out very well, but I thought that's what I was trying. I need to get slapped on the back of the head a couple of times about it. Trustee Rowland.
And further to that, I don't feel like it's appropriate for us to send 3 representatives to that conference in July. And I would just say that if I had to come to a vote, Alicia has attended a conference out of town already, and Robin has not. So I would be okay with supporting Robin to attend in July with Melissa, since we already passed her approval. But I would not want to have 3, because I don't feel it's appropriate for us to use our PD money today when we have a whole year next year to budget for, and possibilities may come up for other trustees to go next year. And I think that would be fair to send 1 more, and I would vote for Robin, as he's never attended.
Thanks, Trustee Rowland. Trustee Dent.
I think our last time we got together, I had echoed those similar sentiments. Like, I felt very honored to be able to go last year. So I'd like that to be kind of extended to trustees to go for the first time. And then also, Don had made, I think, a very valid point when we met 2 weeks ago as well, in maybe having professional development with trustees here, if we get a subscription so that we can see some of these presentations as a group, as a collective, after the conferences. I think that might be a better use of our funds, because it does feel, we just talked about the budget and how it was a challenge and ratepayers, and now, I don't know, the optics for me, it doesn't feel fantastic to kind of, at $4,000 a pop, to send multiple people when we do have other options for us as well that could educate more than just 2-3 people. So something to consider.
Okay, so I do need someone to make a motion about the requests. Trustee Boytson.
So I would leave the motion that's in there and include Robin Harris's name in the motion.
So the motion would be be it resolved that the board approve Trustee Harris to attend the CSBA conference July 3rd to the 5th at the Weston Harbor Castle, Toronto. If that's what the motion that you want to make, I need someone to second that motion. Okay, seconded by Trustee Rowland. Comments to it? Go ahead. Trustee Nicol?
Is it possible for you to read the motion again?
So the motion says, be it resolved that the board approve Trustee Harris to attend the CSBA conference July the 3rd to the 5th at the Weston Harbor Castle, Toronto. Reminder that we've already made the motion that we are sending Trustee Rowan to it. We did that last time we were together. So I have a move and a seconder. Anybody want to comment to it? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So it passed 7-0 with Robin abstaining. Are there any other motions that want to come out for the CSBA conference? Okay. Let's continue. Obviously my financial accounting didn't need that long-winded talk, so I'll make sure that I don't do that again. What's that? Yeah. No more financial accounting, Paul, I got it. We have, thanks for that, so divisional financial summary. There is information there, so Jody, we have a divisional financial summary report. Did you want to talk about it, or it's there for information?
Normally I'd just say it's information only, but due to the timing and the lack of staff that I had for the last little while, I was able to review and update the school division's financial position. We do budget in 23-24 as a deficit budget in the amount of $673,000. Right now the projections are looking at, we're going to be around the $1 million mark in a deficit. Mainly some of those contributions, $180,000 we did pass in a motion earlier this year saying that we're going to fund for a school bus, which really leaves us to $169,000 of additional funds that were either exceeding the budget or revenues that are less than budget. So we're just kind of bouncing around right now in that let's say $170,000 more than we anticipated. Could that change? It could. These projections were based on March, April, and May, as well as June's activities of last year, plus any significant changes. So if we knew we added 2 more teachers to our budget compared to last year, that was included. Some changes, we noted that the fuel consumption or fuel prices fell, so that helped the division. Our transportation department has some breathing room. What doesn't have breathing room is the consumption of repair and maintenance for the maintenance department. So we're seeing a lot of the materials that they're producing for cleaning and custodian use consumables, those materials have gone up in price, and those are putting a lot of pressure on our maintenance department right now. And it isn't because we're using a ridiculous amount. We're using similar consumption to prior years outside of COVID. Sorry, but the costs themselves in general have gone up, and the department's seeing the impact. Other things that we were surprised after doing the analysis, hydro is kind of leveling out. We saw a break in the costs only because we didn't have the cold winter that we've seen. So we've seen a little bit of relief in that. But again, we've just been hit with a couple winter storms again, and out comes our snow clearing and sanding consumption. So those budget lines, we thought we had a break in the last projections, and we're not seeing the relief again. So we're bouncing around. Is it a concern? I want to say just departments are aware of where they're sitting at. I've had a chat with them over the last a couple of days just to give them the heads up and just to watch their budget lines. So other than that, that's the update.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody? So I do have a question that I'll probably bring to the Finance Committee, Trustee Boyce, and certainly around, but I'll save it for the Finance Committee, and then eventually bring it back to the board, certainly around deficits. But I'll come and bring it to the Finance Committee. Thank you. Trustee Nichol?
Well, I'm just suggesting that maybe we hope that we would like the city of Winnipeg. They're forecasting a $7 million deficit, and when they finally, everything came up in the wash, they figured out they only had a $397,000. So a $7 million deficit is what they forecast, and now they only have $397,000. So hopefully our budgeting will work the same way.
Thank you, Trustee Nickel. Anyone else? Okay. So we have a whole bunch of nice to know information. Thanks, Sarah, for putting that together with information. I think we've got upcoming meetings on the 19th and April the 2nd. We talked about potential other meetings, reminder, and then questions from the public. Jody, do we have any questions from the public?
Nope, nothing from the public.
So we passed a budget today, and I'm glad to hear that people in the public are content, I guess, certainly about the budget that we passed. Thank you. We do not have any items from in camera, so I think that we 17.1. Oh yes, okay, thank you. Items from in camera. So be it resolved that the board offer the position of finance manager effective as soon as can be arranged as recommended by the interview committee. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Dent and seconded by Trustee Boytson. Any? So do you want us to do this manually then, Sarah, if we're having some difficulty? Okay. So we're going to do this manually with this. Be it resolved that the board offer the position of finance manager effective as soon as can be arranged as recommended by the interview committee. We have Dent and Boytson that have motioned it, but we'll have to go around by hand to make this motion. So Trustee Rowan, what do you say?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Nickel? Yes. Can you put your microphone on just so it...
Yes.
Trustee Rowan?
Yes.
Trustee Boytson?
Yes.
Trustee Dent?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Magnon is a yes, so it passes 8-0. Thank you for that. I do believe now that we can adjourn. We are going to just debrief our meeting effectiveness, but we can stop our recording because we will adjourn because there will not be a motion coming out of in-camera. So our meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy. Do we need a 2-minute break or a 3-minute break, or can we keep on going? We can keep going? Okay.